You hear about the negative outcomes or the apocalyptic scenarios that occur if climate change is to go through. We're all guilty of it at some point. So the reason why we hear mainly negativity is because it is proven that people are more likely to listen or read the negativities of inaction than the positivity of action. Now, I'm not saying that this type of reporting is bad. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it in these videos, simply because it's the majority of what we see and it's quite easy to report on. But not in this video. We're going to talk about the positivities in climate change, or the positive actions in climate change. So combating climate change will require a multitude of solutions. There's no magic spell that's just going to miraculously solve everything that's happened to the climate, although that would be really helpful. But what will require is a joint effort of the human race. We're all going to have to chip in to do something. The easiest way to do that is to know what to do. And this is what this is going to be about. So, I've found just 5, but there are tons out there. You've just got to research it. 5 things that have been happening to combat climate change. Let's jump right into it. Alright, number 1. Turn off your lights when you're not using them. Kind of something like this. Something like that. Chuck up your lights when you're not using them. This was announced by Energy Star that the amount of heat that will be produced from your lights, leaving them on unnecessarily, does affect the atmosphere. Kind of crazy, right? When you think about it though, it kind of makes sense. But what you can do, and it's quite easy, is simply turn them off when you're not using them. Now this changes dependent on the light bulb that you are using. Firstly, incandescent and halogen bulbs should be turned off when you're not using them. These are the most inefficient light bulbs that you could be using. So just chuck them off when they're not needed. CFLs, or compact fluorescent lamps, are a little bit more complicated. Their lifespan is dependent on how often they're left off or on. So turning them on or off probably doesn't help their lifespan. But Energy Star have come up with a rule of thumb, you could say, in helping, 1, increase the lifespan, and 2, help the climate, and 3, save you a ton of money in your energy bill. And that is, if you are not in the room, or if you are out of the room for longer than 15 minutes, chuck that baby off. Just turn it off. It's not needed. This ensures that 1, the life expectancy of your CFL light bulb is increased, and 2, the heat emitted from the light bulb over time is decreased. Lastly, LEDs, the better bulb of the bunch. Save more, do more, and overall are not affected by how often you turn them on or off. In saying that, Energy Star have then said, turn them off when they're not needed. Make it a habit. If you have LEDs, make it a habit that if you are not in the room, or if you are not in the house, just chuck everything off. I don't care if you're walking down the street, turn them off. They're not needed. Number 2, zero emission vehicles.
I'm an electric car. I can't go very fast or very far. And if you drive me, people will think you're gay. One of us. One of us.
And what I mean by that are vehicles that are battery powered, that are biofuel, that are hydrogen fuel celled vehicles or electric cars, all those that emit zero emission. Multiple countries are now jumping on the bandwagon to phase out petrol and diesel. Volvo was the first company to announce in 2017 that they will phase out all vehicles that produce petrol or diesel by the end of 2019. We're almost there, Volvo. Hope you can stick up to your word, because that'd be cool. Now, several countries have made commitments to phase out emission producing vehicles. I'll add a list of the commitments of each country so far, right there, of when they are planning to remove emission producing vehicles. Now, in 2014, the ACT came up with a great idea to, I guess, give people an incentive to buy zero emission vehicles. And that was, it exempted people from stamp duty on their first vehicle registration that is zero emissions. They also gave people that were registering their zero emission vehicles a 20% discount on vehicle registration.
Wow.
Saving the planet never seemed so good. Number 3, the Paris Agreement. Now, most of you should know this, and if you don't, I am severely concerned. But if you don't, no worries, I'll explain it here. The Paris Agreement is set up so that every country under the agreement must determine, monitor, and report on greenhouse gas emissions within their country. Now, Donald Trump pulled the United States out of the Paris Agreement several years ago. You probably think that's a bad idea. You'd be right. But maybe the problem is the solution? With Donald Trump pulling out, doesn't necessarily mean that the United States are out of the agreement. No. 80 mayors from different cities along the United States have stated that they are going to be following the guidelines set out by the Paris Agreement. Furthermore, France and Canada have reaffirmed their commitment towards the Paris Agreement. So now there are only 3 countries that are not a part of the Paris Agreement. It's pretty good, right? Doing pretty damn well. Now, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Number 4, a bit of a no-brainer. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, recycling rates have skyrocketed. You never really hear of the benefits of recycling much from the media. It's all,
make sure you recycle. If you don't recycle,
that type of BS. That's all you hear. So let me tell you the benefits of you recycling and how that can help the environment. It reduces the amount of waste going into landfills or incinerators, and in turn dropping greenhouse gas emissions. Helps conserve natural resources without needing to extract them from the environment, because we're reusing our resources. Some companies are even paying you to recycle cans and bottles. You also reduce the energy costs of producing raw materials because you're reusing those materials, or they're being recycled, so they're not raw anymore. For example, the production of raw aluminium uses 90% more energy than recycled aluminium. Let that sink in. So this map here from the Environmental Protection Agency shows how much recycling has increased worldwide. That's pretty awesome. People are actually jumping on this bandwagon a lot faster than the Environmental Protection Agency have predicted. And last but not least, because there are a ton of positives coming out of people acting on climate, number 5 is renewable energies. Photovoltaic and wind power overtook coal, gas and oil in 2015, producing the most amount of energy worldwide. That's a strong indicator that renewable energies are going to take over and coal, oil and gas are going to phase out through time, decreasing greenhouse gas emissions by 85%. Wow. We're already beginning to see this action currently. There are currently 1.8 million homes in Australia running off of renewable energy. 6 countries worldwide have stated that they are going to phase out 50% of their coal, oil and gas over time. In 2020, ACT are going to be 100% renewable energy. So people in countries are making these commitments to help prevent or combat further human-induced climate change and global warming. I'd say that's a positive. Whether it's 50%, whether it's 100%, they're doing something about it. These small ripples into mitigating any further damage caused by human-induced climate change and global warming will reverberate through time, incrementally increasing the influence of future generations into protecting and conserving the environment. Because it's these generations that are going to have to deal with the damage that has been done to the planet. So what better way than to give them a guideline on how to help or protect themselves and their future kids through time, as well as potentially mitigating and preventing any further damage. I hope you enjoyed that video. It was a different one, the positives, a little bit of negatives, but mainly positives. Hope that overshadowed. Make sure you educate, don't eradicate. Like, comment and subscribe, share it around. Remember to check out Cape Class because this is an awesome non-for-profit organization. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.